Good evening, everybody. We are approaching the halfway points in this year's FOSROC Super Series Championship as the race for semi-final places really hots up. With teams jostling for position and vital points on offer, tonight we are in the capital at Myreside to bring you an all-Edinburgh showdown between Watsonians Rugby and Heriot Rugby. Just one place and 1 point separate these two teams in the FOSROC Super Series Championship table as they hunt down the Ayrshire Bulls with that 5-point cushion at the top of the standings. There you see Heriot in second, Watsonians in third, and just a solitary try bonus point picked up by the Nails, separating those two teams. So tonight's fixture here at Myreside could well be a pivotal one. A blustery old evening in Scotland's capital city tonight, and we can take a final look through the lineups for Watsonians. Only minor changes to the side which lost at Bridge Hawk to Stirling Wolves in round 5. Nicky Walker delighted though to welcome back Dom Coetzer to the fold, the fullback having been out for several months through injury, and he slots into a back three featuring the in-form George Pringle and former elite sprinter Freddie Owsley. Lots of attacking weaponry there. Up front, Scotland under-20 international Craig Davidson wins a start at loosehead prop alongside Cal Davis and Bobby Bratton, who's back in Scottish rugby after a spell with Doncaster. Jamie Beresford, a free-scoring lock, is slotted into the engine room, and there are starts in the back row for Campbell Wilson and Quokka Fun Niekirk. One late change to tell you about on the home bench. Neil Irvin Hess ruled out late on, so Matt Reid will be wearing the number 20 jersey and covering the back row for the hosts. Well, Heriots feel the more established starting 15 after switching things up to beat the future 15 last time out. 5 changes in the backs, but a late withdrawal for them too. It comes at scrum half with St Jean Broad ruled out and Scotland age grade international Finn Campbell elevated from the bench. That means Ewan McCara wears the 21 jersey among the replacements. Bruce Houston at 10, so still a very handy halfback duo there. George Barber and Lewis Wells restored to the wing berths with Grant Hughes partnering Matt Davidson, who's 3 tries to his name already in midfield. Wholesale alterations in the front row as well, with Cammy Fenton over a recent injury and captaining the side in the absence of Ian Wilson. Chris Keane and Ewan McLaren provide the beef either side of the former professional player. And Sam Wallace, who was called up as injury cover earlier in the season, and having played so well last weekend, is rewarded with a start on the open side flank. Well, it's brilliant to have the company of the former Scotland prop Heather Lockhart to talk us through this one. Heather, local rivals, both in decent shape, high calibre lineups. This is a very close one to call, isn't it?
Yeah, I think whatever happens, it's going to be a really tight result at the end of it. Last time out in the sprint, it was a draw, 33-all, and expecting that same close encounter. I think interesting matchups, Cal Davis and Cammy Fenton at hooker, and at 10, controlling the match, Jason Baggett and Bruce Houston for Heriot. So I think that's going to be really interesting there, and the maul is going to be key for sure.
Yeah, 2 formidable teams, and it is Heriots who emerge first, just 1 point clear of Watsonians in second place in the championship table, led out by Cammy Fenton, who's played for both pro teams, Edinburgh and Glasgow Warriors, over the years. Played under Gregor Townsend for Glasgow, under Richard Cockerill for Edinburgh. Lots of experience, but so too are there many seasoned players in this Watsonians lineup as they are led onto the paddock by Jason Baggett and Cal Davis. It's an established and entrenched team, and there's Dom Coetzer with the bright boots emerging from the tunnel, ready to make his return to the FOSROC Super Series Championship after so many months on the sidelines. A resident dulcet-toned Dubliner, Ian Kenny, will be tonight's referee, and he shares a joke with Bruce Houston before we get going. Always a genial character with the whistle is Ian Kenny. Yes, Ian, we're ready. The telly is all right.
Jason, ready? Ready?
Here we go then. 2 heavyweight teams, two local rivals. Friday night Edinburgh derby at Myreside. What more could you want? And immediately it's Matt with the penalty for Watsonians. Heriot's not rolling away, and that is as clean an exit as Watsonians could have wished for early on.
Yeah, right away Watsonians will be wanting to assert their territory and possession.
You talked about Jason Baggett just in the build-up, Heather. How important a player will he be tonight up against Bruce Houston? That's a great head-to-head.
It is. It's just a really interesting one as well. Both have played at the highest level, trained at the highest level as well, and be willing to hear another opportunity. I think both will be looking to kick for territory. As I've mentioned them all, I think that will be an interesting weapon. Heriot's used it to great effect last week. Watsonians did have used it too.
Ewan McLaren penalised for illegally causing that maul to splat to turf, and that's back-to-back penalties conceded by Heriots. And with Jason Baggett, the Watsonians marksman, eyeing up more territory, more yardage, and they piggyback their way very close to this Heriots 22. Such a key man, Jason Baggett, financial advisor now, but was on a professional deal with Edinburgh under Richard Cockerell, made a handful of appearances for the top team, and one of the most prolific scorers of points since the inception of this tournament.
No tries yet, 26 points though scored in this championship so far.
Cal Davis hits Alfie Scopes, and the former Loughborough Uni student sets up the maul for Watsonians. It's been such a weapon for them over the years. And they continue to rumble towards the 22. Davis shovels it out to Craig Davidson. In goes Scott, looking for his heavies. Bobby Bratton, though, not heavy enough. Double shot, Fenton in there alongside Chris Keane. Davis has a burrowing charge. Scott, taken on by Lewis Berg, former age grade international, very powerful centre. Scott goes the same way. Baggett looking to hack it through, but he's charged down, and this could be interesting for Davidson, who has booted it deep into the Watsonians 22, and the pressure will come on here. Freddie Owsley trying to extricate himself from a very dark corridor. Davidson forced himself over that ball well. And Heriots have gone 80 metres here. Scott, Pringle and Berg, and space to run for Scott King, who has carved Heriots open down the middle. Good cover tackle from Wells, but Scott keeps the tempo up, and Baggett again uses that boot. Well covered though. Liam Richmond looking for that 50-22, taken again by King, the man who made the initial burst. Won't escape the clutches of Barber. Yeah, it's making a mess of that Watsonians breakdown. Murray Scott had to go in to make sure of possession.
Release 8. Thank you. Yeah, you're good. Thank you.
A breathless opening 4 minutes here. Craig Davidson in the background, the loose head prop, puffing out his big chest, sucking in lungfuls of much needed air. And Scott's put too much on that one, out on the full. And after all that end-to-end fair, Heather, it's a massive yardage gain for Heriots.
Yeah, there's Fenton there marching up to take the throw, but fantastic breakdown work. Him and Keane, really good turnout, and then a charge down the kick and just putting the pressure on. They're here to make a mess of Watsonians breakdown. Watsonians are going to have to work hard to get clean ball.
First throw of the evening for Fenton. It's a little untidy, and Heriots can't wrestle it back cleanly. Spilled by Sadak in the end. And that's a frustrating one. You can tell just how frustrated Cammy Fenton is by his fruity choice of language. We do apologise for that. coming over Ian Kenny's referee's mic. What did you see at line-out time there, Heather? Was it a miscommunication or an overthrow perhaps?
Yeah, I think it was just maybe all three is a timing thing for line-out, so they'll be working hard to rectify that next time.
Bind. Sit.
5 minutes in, opening scrummage. Scott feeds, Heriots get the first shunt on, but it's quickly away to Lewis Berg, who cuts back against the grain. Untidy ball again for Scott. And Pringle, agricultural boot downfield.
Trousers on, guys. Stay now. Stop. Go.
Here's Coetzer. Handful of professional matches for Gloucester back in 2018-19. South Africa born. Davidson for Heriots, running into heavy traffic. Berg with the shot. Houston moves it wide, looking for Sadak, looking for willing runners down that left touchline. Campbell, Fenton, lovely tip-on pass to Ewan McLaren, former age grade international himself. Campbell hits Houston, and Houston finds Ben Smith, who's well wrapped up in a Jamie Beresford hit. Kick half charged from Houston, so Scott, everybody on side, and Scott's levelled in a brutal low shot by Wallace Nelson. Elliott screaming for the turnover, Ian Kenny screaming right back. Numbers here for Watsonians, if they can move it, if they can harness the red jerseys out to the left. Pringle to Coetzer to Owsley. He is blisteringly quick, but he can't hold on to the ball. And instead Sam Wallace is on the rampage up the tram line. Brilliant pass on to Fenton, who's trying to basketball, pop it back, and does so. It was Jamie Campbell who was next to charge. And then Finn Campbell, his namesake, ransacked but taken high. And everybody can pause for breath. It's just as nuggety, as niggly, as competitive as we thought, Heather.
Absolutely, both sides just not giving an absolute inch. Ferocious at the breakdown. Lovely tip there from Fenton earlier, but yeah, just fighting for every blade of grass at the moment. Just what we expected.
As a tight five forward, Heather, scrummaging aside, is there a more satisfying thing than legally ransacking a scrum half your size and half your weight?
I think you just got to keep the defensive line, and it's interesting there. Owsley was really wrapped up by the Heriots. They've done their homework and they're just not letting him. They know he's fast, they're not letting him get an inch of space.
Fenton to the tail, that's a better line out. And Jamie Campbell, safe hands to gather. Fenton and Wallace break. Wallace gunning towards the corner flag. Lovely presentation for Finn Campbell. Wallace Nelson stepping back in. He was impressive last weekend. Keane. Finn Campbell. Fenton running from out to in, challenging that fringe defence. Finn Campbell changes direction. Houston sticks it on the toe. Wallace tearing after it. Owsley can't gather cleanly. Where's this ending up? It's ending up underneath the fingers of Finn Campbell. Predatory from the scrum half, who pounces on that bobbling ball. First blood Heriots in the Friday night derby.
Yeah, Finn Campbell, late replacement, but Bruce Houston came well on the wraparound there. Just putting a delicate kick there and just putting under pressure, and great finish there. Great scampering by the scrum half, excellent.
Freddie Owsley none too happy. I think he was pleading his case for an obstruction in the air, but Ian Kenny happy that was a fair contest. Owsley not able to take possession cleanly. Lewis Wells putting him under lots of pressure alongside Sam Wallace, and Campbell seizing upon the loose ball. Bruce Houston 39 points this season, second only to Marcus Holden of Stirling, and we can make that 41. 7-0 to Heriots, 10 minutes played.
Cairns was talking about how they didn't start their match well against the Futures last week, and that's their aim today, and that's very much what they've done right there.
Yeah, energy was very much the mantra from Ben Cairns in his media briefing this week. Energy from the first whistle. Can't afford to give Watsonians a lead. They've got the best defence in the competition, so adept at squeezing and suffocating and managing the final stages of games. And it's Heriot who've struck first here. And Richmond, Australian, who can play at fly half and fullback, played in the famous Sydney Shoot Shield for the Southern Districts, and he finds a safe enough touch under pressure. And this is Cal Davis with the throw, one of the stalwarts of Watsonians Rugby. In his younger days, spent a year in New Zealand playing for the Coastal Rugby Club in Taranaki, which was the club of the Barrett brothers. Remember them? In fact, Cal spent a bit of time working on the Barrett family farm with the cows and perhaps tapping into some of that legendary rugby nous. Here come Watsonians. Pringle stepping and straightening. No way through. Here's Beresford. Another well-travelled member of this Watsonians team. Spent time in Florida and Georgia in the States. First Point University. Berg looked for the offload, could only find Sam Wallace, who is a real thorn in the side for Watsonians right now. And because Louis Ball wasn't rolling away, Lewis Berg couldn't be rewarded for the turnover.
Number 6.
Yeah, Sam Wallace rightly being rewarded for an excellent performance last week, player of the match performance last week as an emergency loan player, still on emergency loan this week, but gets the start. Well played there. He was in the squad for the sprint and then stepped back down to the Blues, but it's great to see. That's great resilience and character to fight his way back into the starting team.
He looks every inch a proper fetcher, doesn't he, Sam Wallace? He's low to the ground, low centre of gravity, squat, powerful, a big power to weight ratio, and he's certainly got the engine to match. Fenton again, that arcing throw to the tail, but picked off only by his opposite man Davis. And Scott for Baggett, and Berg now moving it wide. Kutzer's in the line here. This is Owsley with that famous pace, trickling it down the touchline. Kutzer goes in with the clear out, so too does George Pringle, but Heriots have scrambled smartly enough to retain possession. Oh, Cammy Fenton, that's a massive collision. Spilled the ball, then managed to clutch it in one of those giant arms again.
Use 9.
Finn Campbell working hard to win that ball. Skywards it goes. Majestic take from Don Kutzer. Not the tallest, but boy, is he good in the air. Watsonians not so good over the ground though, and you can hear the roar of the Heriots replacements in the back of that shot, heralding another Heriots turnover. Houston knows their space somewhere. Ben Smith opts for the direct route.
Great work, Cal, thanks. Great work.
Campbell. Houston again calling for it, pulling it back for Davidson, who's torpedoing his way out of a couple of tackles. Finn Campbell for Jamie Campbell, no relation. And now Houston is in the pocket and will take the more pragmatic decision. Baggett returns. Richmond. Very canny playmaking fullback is Liam Richmond, giving that some welly too. Kutzer, sprightly on his feet. And Houston does just keep that in on the far side. It's aerial jousting just now from these two rivals. Now Watsonians look to move it, and Owsley wants to get on the outside. He's running it forwards. He finds Lewis Berg, who is hit well by Lewis Wells. That's a fine low shot on the bigger man. Beresford. Scott back against the grain. Not on the same wavelength as his teammates though, and Heriot's off turnover ball look to strike. Davidson, Houston. It's an intelligent kick with Wells hearing after it. Coetzer has time and footwork but can't run without those legs. Lewis Wells wraps up the fullback, and Heriot's again have dynamited that breakdown. Craig Davidson flops on the loose ball, and he's done very well to force that back on the side of the Myreside men. Once more, Heriot's not making it easy for Murray Scott at the base. Baggett under pressure, and Baggett finds touch, but again Heriot's able to camp themselves in the Watsonians half.
Yeah, tremendous work there by Heriot. It's just really putting the pressure on Watsonians. They said they were going to bring energy. They rotated their squad from last week back to the starting 15, and the real pressure at the breakdown, really impressive.
It's Matt Davidson who's down receiving treatment for Heriot's big defensive presence as well as an attack, but 3 tries to his name across the opening 5 rounds, and he's been lively.
Yeah, the wings are 2. You mentioned Lewis Wells. Just some really nice, astute tackling. Really impressive.
Come on, Heriot.
Watsonians, of course, lost last week, and they're really going to have to get their momentum back again.
Clean line-out ball for Heriot's, won by Sadak, and Sam Wallace again is prowling down the short side. Has to squeeze the ball back beneath a chicken wing style arm. Sadak with an extra roll. Finn Campbell to Ben Smith, one of the Loughborough contingent. Houston looking for options. One of them is Davidson with that devilish sidestep and the bump and the burl out of contact. Campbell, slower ball this time to Jamie Campbell. Ball reefed clear, but not done so legally. And Watsonians concede a 3rd penalty of the match.
Yeah, the one there, I think. Number 5.
After a little discussion with Cammy Fenton, Bruce Houston's eyes are wide. He wants a crack at the corner. Cammy Fenton agrees. They're not settling for 3 points here, Heather. They want 5 or 7.
Yeah, they've got real confidence in their kicking and maul game here. 7 points up, so yeah, going for the corner.
2 of the meanest packs in the competition, this pair. 2 of the best exponents of that rolling maul. Everybody in here for Heriot's. It's an untidy throw, but they might yet bake a juicy cake with those crumbs. Finn Campbell, Ewan McLaren takes 2 to stop the massive tight head. Jamie Campbell, a couple of players riding side saddle. He's hard to stop. Finn Campbell now. Ben Smith cutting back inside, heading towards the posts. Finn Campbell looks right, then goes left and finds Wallace Nelson, who's get to within a couple of metres. Houston, options everywhere. One of them's Davidson. That's try time, Heriot's. Superb deception and ruthless phase play from the visitors. They're 2 tries to the good.
Yeah, the line out didn't quite go to plan, but that fantastic finish there and execution by the back line. Matt Davison will be happy with that one. But good patient, good phases. Strong player, strong player.
4 tries for the season now for Matt Davidson. 4 in 6 matches for Heriot's, and this is how he's completed his quartet.
Great carry by Ben Smith, and then just some neat running lines. Fantastic, excellent.
How important were those forward carries, Heather? They gave Heriot such momentum. They stretched and stressed that Watsonians defence, and Davidson had a huge hole manipulated by the men outside him and by the forwards who'd done the carrying.
Yeah, they were just Good kick there by Hughes. Yeah, just had the patience. You were talking about Ewan McLaren there at 3. Ben Smith, who's come up from Loughborough University, just like direct carries, but then just a little change of hard line, running line by Matt Davidson. Great finish.
Yeah, Grant Hughes momentarily taking over the kicking duties because Bruce Houston had done himself a little mischief. Houston still on the pitch, still able to continue, but 14 points to nil as we approach the 20-minute mark at Myreside. And it's been mighty impressive so far from Heriot's. Baggett's kick is taken by Ben Smith. He had a fantastic debut against the Boroughmuir Bears in round 1. Really made his mark on the competition. Heriot's racking up over 50 points that day. Smith part of an irrepressible back row trio that day. And that's a fine relieving kick again from Bruce Houston.
Yeah, before this game started, Heriot's on 22 tries, Watsonians on 13 tries, so very much in the ascendancy in the attacking department.
Yeah, top point scorers in the tournament, Heriot's. Watsonians with the best defence, but that defence has been picked apart twice thus far. What can they muster by way of response? Murray Scott breaks, delays the ball to Baggett. And Pringle has to hold on. It was a wise decision to keep that ball. And Sam Wallace cleared off it in the nick of time. Cal Davis slips, pops back up again. Little forward roll to give the ball back. Louis Ball, German age grade international. Still Watsonians press, but the handling is eluding them. Baird coughed it up and then flung it off Craig Davidson, and Matt Davidson batters the ball downfield. Here's Owsley. This is where he can be dangerous. Lots of open prairie in front of him. Drops it onto the toe. Bit of space, but George Barber up to it. Away from Owsley. He's got support on the inside. Barber. Baggett with a crucial cover tackle. Baggett can't force the steal though. And Heriots are in the Myreside red zone once more. Campbell to Nelson. Finn Campbell again. Ben Smith again. Heriot's turning the screw, putting the heat on their Edinburgh rivals as Wells, the all-action winger, comes bursting in from his touchline. Watsonians slow it down. Chris Keane, what beautiful soft hands to Cammy Fenton. The front row union with the champagne cocks popping. There's Jamie Campbell. Houston again pulling it back for Davidson. Richmond. Wallace for the corner. What a try! Silky stuff from Heriots, and they are putting their old foes to the sword.
Started with Barber, and there's Houston, just a lovely out the back. Richmond coming in as well, just, and Sam Wallace lurking on the far touchline, really stretching that Watsonians defence.
23 minutes played. Heriot's 3 tries to the good, and it's another cracker, this one.
Yeah, Davidson, just a lovely touch there to Richmond as well. Scored a try and try assist. Excellent play. Barber definitely alert there on that right wing just to set up that initial counter-attack.
Houston resuming the kicking off the tee. He's had a hand in all 3 Heriot's tries. One of them with that smart right boot. And that is quite a nudge. Touchline cracker from Bruce Houston. Heriot's 3 from 3 off the tee. 21-0 they lead.
They really are playing with a huge degree of fluency. backs and forwards interplaying. It's the counter attack, the pressure at the breakdown. Watsonians have really got to try and find some possession and territory.
Yeah, Watsonians have got to be careful because Heriots have racked up some big scores already in this competition. Heavy victors over the future 15 with a seriously rotated team. 50 points on Boroughmuir Bears. Managed to edge the Stirling Wolves as well, the same opposition that beat Watsonians in round 5. Their only defeat coming against the Ayrshire Bulls, and even then they were 21 points scored in that match against the league leaders. Try scoring certainly not an issue for Ben Cairns' team this season. One more, remember, and they will have a bonus point. Watsonians desperately need a foothold in this game, and it's not coming through their much vaunted line out. Sam Wallace scooping up the loose ball, carving a deep gash in the Watsonians defence, and now Heriots can shift it. They look for the inside ball to Barber, and it doesn't quite function, and the double knock on means it's a Watsonian scrum.
Yeah, I think the line out is an area for both teams at the moment. I think sometimes they're going for just too much. I think maybe more banker balls just to give them. Cammy Fenton with Heriots twice, 3 times gone to the back, and it's just a slight overthrow. So yeah, just be looking to more banker balls there to get the clean possession.
A couple of high calibre front rows on show today. Craig Davidson, middle name Harley, I assume his parents are motorbike enthusiasts. On the Lucid side for Watsonians, current under-20 international Cal Davis and Bobby Bratton, who's got championship experience in England. Keane, Fenton and McLaren, all very seasoned at Super Series level. Stable platform for Watsonians, and here's Pringle. Oh, that's a big hit on George Barber, who has clattered Dom Kutzer. Not for the first time. Barber a force in defence, and there he is again. That repeat effort off the deck. Big left shoulder this time. Louis Ball running into a brick wall, a McLaren shaped brick wall. Cal Davis pulls it back for Berg, and then Pringle coughs it up, and Matt Davidson seizes upon it. Here come Heriots. Chris Keane ploughing forth. Finn Campbell, Houston, Richmond now on the line. Pass though, goes behind Hughes, and Kutzer sniffing after it, but he's done for a little push there. 2 hands on the back of George Barber, and a little too obvious to get away with.
Yeah, just shows that the pressure that Heriots are exerting at the moment, and the turnovers they're getting from that absolute resolute defence you're talking about. If your number 14 George Barber is making that many tackles, that's really outstanding and sets the tone.
Bruce Houston going for goal. And why not when you are as accurate off the tee as the Northern Irishman? He was on a partnership deal with Edinburgh Rugby for part of last season. Didn't play for what was at the time Mike Blair's side, but has been capped, or so they call it nowadays. Caps really are for internationals, but the Irish provinces like to refer to them as caps, by Ulster in his homeland. He's given that a real drilling, and he splits the kindling again. It's a kicking masterclass this from Bruce Houston, and it's an all-round demolition job by Heriot so far. 24 points to 0 now.
Yeah, Houston showing why he was Ireland captain at under 18 level, and also captained them at under 19 level. .11 minutes of this first half left. Watsonians, after a
Bright start in the opening minutes, back-to-back penalties, pushed their way into the Heriot's 22. Have scarcely had a sniff. And Liam Richmond, with that trusty right boot, asks them to do something from deep. Baggett for Coetzer. Frustrating return to action for him thus far. And Heriot's content through Bruce Houston to call the mark and just take the sting out of this game a little.
Yeah, we were talking earlier, Jamie, about how round 4 Watsonians had a break a couple of weeks ago, so every team takes a turn at having a break, and it's just definitely Watsonians have slightly lost that momentum since then, so they just find their way into this game.
Owsley. Well, looking for that 50-22, and the bounce eluding Liam Richmond. And that perhaps is the boost that Watsonians needed. Known more for his running than his kicking, Freddie Owsley. He judged this really well.
Yeah, just ask the question there. Yeah, good option.
Stand back now.
That's better from Cal Davis, and the Watsonians pack. Line out safely secured. And now they look to rev their engine. Scott now breaks. Berg sees an opening, sides through it, takes some serious stopping. Scott digs it out. Beresford cutting back towards the breakdown. Boy, Watsonians need a try. They will not care in what manner it comes. And once more, Jason Baggett looking for his first of the season. Gets to within 2 metres. Murray Scott holding it up for the big boys. They're queuing up on this left-hand side. They've got the penalty advantage. Davis is smashed by Barber. And Ian Kenny. And just have a little think about this. It's an offside penalty for the time being. Barber doing enough not to be in deliberate knock-on territory here.
Much stronger set there by Watsonians. Good line out, some good runs. Baggett nearly getting over the line. Lewis Berg making that incisive run originally. Much better.
Looks easy, that Jason Baggett kicking to touch, but it's not when you're under the posts and your margin for error is so narrow. Well, he has arrowed it off the park to within 5 metres. Watsonians backing their set piece again. And it works again. Alfie scopes the option this time. Now Scott releases his back line. Baggett cutting back, caught by Houston. Scott changing direction. Louis Ball with some snarl and some bite, but Cammy Fenton slowing things up. Scott again. Cal Davis once more. Another penalty against Heriots. Sam Wallace this time with his hands on the floor before going for the turnover. And Watsonians going for the scrum, Heather, backing that big pack of theirs to make a dent.
Yeah, I think it's a good decision just where they are in the middle of the pitch here. The scrum the last time was stable, so that'll give them a platform to attack off.
Crouch! Bind! Set!
Home fans haven't had much to shout about thus far. It's been a hushed evening as the floodlights begin to burn into the Edinburgh night at Myreside. Here come Watsonians. How they need a try. Waka van Niekerk can't provide it. Nor can Murray Scott round the base. Another penalty advantage to Watsonians. Bratton was lost through the hands of the arriving player, but Owsley picks up the scraps, hoists it wide for Coetzer. That is brilliant, and then it's lost by Baggett. The dexterity, the athleticism from Dom Coetzer was world class.
Too many PKs, lads. Offside.
What about this, Heather?
Absolutely wonderful. Look at that one-handed catch. That is no mean feat, and that's just tough, tough, tough. Wonderful hands there.
Yeah, they were under penalty advantage, Watsonians, and Ian Kenny has had a little word with Cammy Fenton whilst we were admiring Dom Coetser's silky skills. Any more penalties and the Irishman will likely be reaching for his pocket. Don't know if you'll have heard that at home, but Ian Kenny telling the forwards, I get into trouble for this. It's the referee who's to blame from his bosses if the scrum's taken age and there are lots of resets. Come on, lad, you're making him look bad. How pivotal are these moments, Heather? 5 minutes from half-time. Watsonians so close to the try line, they've done everything but score.
Yeah, this is absolutely their moment. They want to complete this. It was an excellent scrum before from both sides, and yeah, they'll be wanting to take their opportunity this time.
Owsley lurking away to the left. Heriot's beginning to march Watsonians backwards. Oh, they have absolutely marmalised the Watsonians pack. And that, for all their tries and all their brilliance, gets the most rousing cheer of the night.
Guys, first defence is a hand in the scrum, and then you go stood up.
There's a despairing arm, I think, from Campbell Wilson reaching through to pluck the ball back on the Watsonian side. That was the original offence. Heather, as a prop, that must be chocolate to you.
That's just massive, massive for Heriot's. Watsonians, to be fair, that was an excellent scrum. It was there, and they probably just kept it in a bit too long. It was there, and then suddenly the secondary drive there. Chris Keen's side up on the loose side really got under there. Quite rightly, all the pack celebrating. And the backs congratulating. That's excellent work. Really all 8 scrum. And it was the patience there to get it on the secondary drive.
And the scrum, of course, is one of Watsonians' biggest weapons over the past few seasons. They've thrown the kitchen sink at Heriot's, and Heriot's try line still intact with 3 minutes to go to the break.
It's a massive statement of intent there by Heriot's.
Here's Finn Campbell and Grant Hughes. Nothing fancy required here, and not when you're as fiendishly difficult to stop as Grant Hughes. Almost trips himself up, but he's got support, and it is a double, a scintillating double for Sam Wallace. They absorb Watsonians' best shots, and they reply with a haymaker of their own. It's a Heriot's bonus point try before half-time.
That's outstanding play by Grant Hughes, twisting and turning his way out of contact, staying alive, staying alert, and just giving the easy pass to Wallace to finish. Great support lines. Davidson in support there as well.
And that, in a nutshell, Heather, is the difference between the two teams. That ruthlessness.
Yeah, there's an added edge tonight to Heriot's. They've lost 3 times to Watsonians in the championships last year, and they've come to Myreside and they just want it.
Houston then to take Heriot's beyond 30 points. 30 points without reply. Picture of perfection again. Watsonians 0, Heriot's 31. And the Myreside faithful are pretty shell-shocked, pretty stunned by what they're seeing. The team have had their chances, they haven't taken them. Here goes Fenton. I reckon if we had the stats for conversion rate per visit to the 22, Heriots would be through the roof. 4 tries and a penalty to the goods. And it's just not happening for Watsonians. Everything is going the way of the visitors. And Dom Coetzer drops it cold. And that's Watsonians' night in microcosm.
Watsonians probably not used to being in this position, so I think they've got to regroup at half-time and just work out a plan. What they did there, camped in the 22, but Heriot's outstanding scrum, so that was such a psychological blow. That.
This will be the last play of the half. Heriots can choose whether to end the first 40 minutes or whether to continue piling on the pain and the hurt. Let's see what they've got planned.
We had a good platform, that is becoming faster.
Let's go, Bobby!
Crouch!
Come on! Stay!
Bind! Set!
Yeah, ball's coming! Ball's coming! Ball's coming! Ball's in! Ball's in! Stay there, Bobby! Stay there, Bobby! Push straight!
Oh, Heriots are doing a number on this Watsonians pack again. It's an annihilation at scrum time.
3 collapsing. 3 collapsing.
Goes against Bobby Bratton. And it's Chris Keane again, Heather, who's making mincemeat of his opposite man.
There as well, I've just watching the second rows, because very often everyone gives the credit to the second rows, the front rows, but actually the second rows, it's Sadak and Campbell are absolutely supporting their front row massively, and the back row too, so that's definitely an all 8.
And Heriot's content to try and keep the scoreboard ticking over. Houston 4 from 4 off the tee thus far. And this will be the final act of a very one-sided first half. Oh, it's off the post, and it's still live before bubbling just over the dead ball line. So a slightly unorthodox end to what has been a rip-roaring first 40 minutes by Heriot's Rugby. They are taking their old rivals to the cleaners in their own backyard. 4 tries, 4 conversions, and a penalty. The bonus point wrapped up, and the best defence in the FOSROC Super Series Championship cut 2 ribbons. Half-time at Myreside, Watsonians Rugby 0, Heriot's Rugby 31. And Heather, we can take a spool through some of the best of the first half action, and it's pretty much all going to feature Heriot's. This is the opening try, scored by Finn Campbell. A slightly strange build-up with Owsley under pressure from Wallace, and Campbell doing the necessary.
Yeah, Houston did well. He was on the left-hand side and swept round and did that beautifully weighted kick and just, yep. He thought, yep, I'm just going to try that one out. And Campbell on it.
Owsley, a very skilled player, but he wants to be going forward. He wants the ball in his hands and space to run. He doesn't want to be fielding that sort of kick. And Houston again with a cute little dink over the top. He's such an intelligent fly half. Chaos reigning in the Watsonians in goal area. Baggett complaining for a knock on, Owsley complaining for a penalty, neither given. And Houston again had a a hand in this one, pulling it back nicely, and Davidson bursting over on that short line.
Yeah, Richmond was also, it was the cover outside as well, the options outside. There were so many options who he could hit. The hard yards had been done. Ben Smith there took it to the line, Campbell really well, and just, yeah, perfect.
Yeah, Scott King was sucked out wide by that run of Richmond that you mentioned, and Davison the beneficiary. Houston again starting this move, and it is just, I mean, it looks simple, doesn't it, Heather, but that's basic skill executed under pressure at pace when it really counts.
Yeah, Hughes, Davidson, Barber all come on this year. Wallace stepping up, as we've mentioned. He just made delighted, just holding his line. Team right behind him.
Yeah, it's classy stuff from Heriot's, pulling Watsonians from left to right, splitting them up the middle, and then spreading it wide for Sam Wallace to score. And you can see what that means to the Heriot's replacements warming up behind him. Bruce Houston slamming over a penalty, and that took the score to 24-0. And Watsonians camp deep inside Heriot's territory for a long spell just before the break, and this from Dom Coetzer really deserved to be finished, didn't it?
Yeah, not much you can say about that, but yeah, just great hands there. Oh. Maybe he wasn't expecting it. Maybe he wasn't expecting that type of pass.
Yeah, just begging for that to be stuck away, but it wasn't. Heriot's smashed the Watsonian scrum, won a penalty, and Grant Hughes did some smashing of his own, blasting straight through the heart of the Watsonians defence and feeding Sam Wallace for his second try, like any good open side, tracking the ball carrier and plunging over for that bonus point score. It's another fantastic effort from the visitors.
It's the work he does on that defensive line, just bursting through, staying strong. Sevens player, Scotland's sevens player, and really just showing his salt there. Got a lovely pass on him there. Didn't have to do a big pass, but his distribution in the midfield, linking up with fellow former Scotland sevens player Davidson, is key to this attack.
Yeah, his ability to fight through contact. Post-contact meters, that's the rugby jargon term for that kind of blistering work from Grant Hughes.
It was his balance as well, yeah. The balance, and then just cuts back inside a bit. Good support line.
So Heriot's well and truly in command at half-time. They lead Watsonians by 31 points to 0, and second half commentary is coming next. Welcome back to Myreside, everyone. Night falling over Edinburgh, and it has certainly been a dark old first half for Watsonians. They only conceded 57 points in the run-up to this match. They've already shipped 31 in just half a game of rugby, and perhaps no surprise that Nicky Walker has sent his troops out onto the pitch first. Good couple of minutes before Heriot's troop down the tunnel, and they have got a mountain to climb in this second half. Cal Davis carrying that weight on his shoulders, so experienced, so calm, such a big player for Watsonians. Jason Baggett as well, who spilled the ball over the line as Watsonians sought a route back into this game. Here we go then, second half underway, through the boot of Jason Baggett. Can Watsonians mount a rousing riposte, or will Heriots continue their dominance of this fixture? Bruce Houston with the flat ball to Fenton, who was an energetic presence in the first half. Richmond, there's that second playmaking option for Heriots, gives them another big boot in the back line. A hint of a forward pass there from Baggett to Coetzer. Ian Kenny asking the question of his assistant referee. Scots, Baggett, Pringle stepping up and making good headway. The Northern Irishman. Ball loose on the floor though, and Matt Davidson picks it up, drills it down the touchline. It's a long way back for Jason Baggett. Falls on the bouncing ball. George Barber, as he has been all day, all over him. Cal Davis with the dummy and run. And Baggett retreating to the pocket, under pressure from Fenton. And that won't find touch. Richmond brings it infield for Houston. Lewis Wells, he's got pace to burn. All action specimen is Lewis Wells. Grant Hughes goes in at scrum half. Chris Keane, he was not messing around there, splats two defenders. Richmond into Davidson. Cal Davis makes an important tackle. Watsonians certainly can't afford to concede any more points. The game may already be beyond them, but more tries would certainly render this a lost cause. McLaren. Finn Campbell to Houston. Again, nice deception in the back line for Richmond to run hard at Scott King. Keane once more with that big granite shoulder. Hughes at first receiver. Powerful burst by Fenton.
Yeah, no, you're gone. Thanks, Cal. Good work.
Campbell again. Heriot's going through the phases, reloading every time and finding Wallace on the edge. The young flanker. Already got 2 tries today. Jamie Campbell, the lock forward, battered back. Big hit from Quagga van Niekerk. Hughes, Davidson, it's on out wide for Wells. Richmond looping round, that's where it's going. Richmond for the line, he's sliding, he's stretching, he's scoring. And the tsunami of Heriot's tries continues unabated. That's number 5.
Yeah, Richmond so often the decoy or the assist, and gets a deserved try there. Great support lines, great offload there by Wells, and the strength there just to score out the tackle.
In between that, the 5 and that.
Again, that try just coming from a slight the pressure at the breakdown. Heriot's chipped ahead, and look what they've got. Another try.
Serve me up all night then, yeah. Alright, get them behind the post, lad, would you?
5 tries to nil, 36 points to nil. And Houston staring into the glare of the Myreside floodlights. No problem at all. 2 more points for Houston, 2 more points for Heriots. And they're edging ever closer to the half-century mark here.
Everything's just clicking for them tonight. They're just working so hard. Forwards are doing the hard carries. I think it's all coming from the breakdown and the turnovers. Watsonians got to really, really look after that ball.
Speaking of which, it's Heriot who don't take care of that restart, but rebounds kindly for Finn Campbell. He's made a decent fist of things into two Watsonians defenders. Louis Ball attacking that breakdown like a dervish, but unsuccessfully. Kieran Watt in the red headgear on the right of your pictures. Come on for Watsonians. Looks like Alfie Scopes. No, it's not Alfie Scopes. We'll get confirmation of that substitute in a moment, but Kieran Watt is on. Nicky Walker, unsurprisingly, keen to start using his bench. Campbell's kick half charged. Coetzer underneath it. Creasy ball tonight. Coetzer's come a cropper a couple of times. Baggett's dropping the shoulder hard. And still fighting through the contact, Jason Baggett. Really dispatched Grant Hughes with that charge. Coetzer now at first receiver, hits Pringle. Former All-Ireland League competitor with Ballynahinch. Scott, Baggett, flat pass for Alfie Scopes. Scott again finding Baggett. Now they look to move it through Berg, who has such a compelling change of pace, but Finn Campbell changes his direction. Backwards he goes. Kieran Watt pulling it back for Baggett, who serves it up nicely for Alfie Scopes again. Fenton over the ball. Fenton winning the penalty. Watsonians stymied yet again.
Yeah, it's the double tackles just causing such problems. Chris Keenan there, Sam Wallace in there, really. Chris Keane acting as an extra back row at the moment, which is outstanding for the loose head prop.
Seven penalties now conceded by Watsonians. Generally regarded as a decent return if teams keep it to single figures. Only played 47 minutes. Watsonians already edging nearer to the number 10 mark.
Numbers, guys. Nine, staying back.
Lewis Wells has gone into the line out here for Heriots. And Fenton to the front, and to Ronan Sadak. And they shift that drive cleverly.
You just slipped all the way backwards. You slipped all the way backwards.
Yeah, obstruction in that maul, Cammy Fenton. Just talk us through this, Heather. Why is this a penalty?
He didn't need to transfer the ball. You need to join behind the ball, basically.
The players have got to stay bound. The ball can move back, but he can't do that. So yeah, the ball has to transfer back.
Yeah, Sam Wallace was just sneaking his way back without binding, allowing players to come in front of him, which is not allowed. Change as well at hooker for Watsonians. Young Finn Durai has come on to join us. Ahead of the age grade contingent. Looks like Kyle Davis has made way. Murray Scott's for Lewis Berg. He's done a lot of thankless hard yard hoovering, but Heriots have had his number tonight, and that's not often we can say that about Lewis Berg. Kieran Watt is the next to have a crack. Scott back to Baggett. Switches the play from left to right and finds Pringle. Scott King, I beg your pardon. Baggett's, Heriot's called that. Oh, Wallace is off for the hat-trick. Can Coetzer hunt him down? No, he can't! Sam Wallace, who can stop him? Not Tom Coetzer, not Watsonians, not tonight. A hat-trick for the young tearaway. And that sums up how predatory Heriots have been.
I spoke with Ben about it before the game.
It's their line speed. They're just all coming up, putting real pressure, and Wallace is there to take advantage of it. Absolutely outstanding for his hat-trick. Pressure, pressure, pressure. He's looking. He's so aware of where the opposition is. Great finish. Got real speed.
He's got vision too, Heather. We've seen that from not just the tries he scored already, but that one there, he knew the chip was coming. You could hear the call, chip, chip, coming over the referee's mic. He blocked Jason Baggett. He had the presence of mind and the skill to pick up the ball and the pace to carry him away from Coetzer, who's not slow.
You know, the reading of Baggett's kicking is exceptional.
Six tries for Heriot, 3 of them scored by their open side flanker. Who needs Ian Wilson, eh? And Bruce Houston continues to excel off the tee, and the points continue to rack up for Heriots. 45-0, 50 minutes played. There's no such thing as script writing in sport, Heather, but we certainly didn't predict this, did we?
No, absolutely not. 50 minutes on the clock. Let's see what the next half hour brings.
Here's Houston. And here are Heriots punching holes, doing damage, sapping energy from Watsonian lungs and morale from Watsonian minds.
Roll. Now you're trying to roll. It's grand, Louis. You're grand, thanks.
Houston in the pocket, and off it goes. Baggett pirouetting away from the touchline. Inside for Pringle, he can't hold on. More errors plaguing Watsonians. Such inaccuracy to their play, but this is more like it. This is Clougha van Niekerk on the charge. Scott alongside him. Van Niekerk lays it back neatly. It's a big hit from Houston, and Heriots lay siege to the breakdown. Eventually Watsonians scramble it back. Scopes around the fringes. Fenton again nearly pinching it. Baggett. Berg is deep. Pringle assessing his options. Now Coetzer dummying. Can't escape the clutches of Jamie Campbell and Ronan Sadak. And then Scott's pass finds only the turf. Van Niekerk straightens and sets it up. Scopes back for Baggett. And there's Berg with that trademark low centre of gravity. Cammy Fenton again putting in a serious defensive shift. Scott. Ball. Baggett. Pringle. That was nice. That was clever. And it was a lovely ball off the deck as well to Scott King. Now perhaps Watsonians can find some space. No, they can't. All they can find is the gleeful embrace of Matt Davidson, who sickens them further, who splashes down at Myreside, and who brings up 50 points for Heriots.
It was some super play there by Watsonians leading up to that, but again, the reading of the game, just the defensive pressure there. Davidson taking his try and just showing why he was in the 7th circuit. Great pace.
Yep, double for Matt Davidson, now up to 5 for the campaign. And he is such an effective player. His defensive skills are prized by Ben Cairns, who of course himself is a former international centre. Wore that 13 jersey for Edinburgh and Scotland for many years with some distinction, as Houston chips over the extras. But Davidson, Heather, he's a bit of a Swiss Army knife. He can be effective in so many ways with and without the ball.
Yeah, very much so. We've seen that tonight. Just look at that determination again, looking around. Strong.
And you often get that with Sevens players, don't you? They're not just super talented, they're not just super fit, they're good at pretty much everything, because in Sevens you have to be.
That's a really good point. Yeah, their breakdown skills especially.
George Barber with the relieving kick for Heriots this time. Baggett keeps it in. This has been sobering. So very, very sobering for Watsonians. A point behind Heriots in the table. They've yet to score a point in 55 minutes.
You mentioned Ben Cairns there. Should be extremely proud. Done his homework tonight. Is coming. The back line definitely coming to fruition, but certainly the forwards are just the breakdown. Outstanding.
And it's an important season for Ben Cairns as well. Either he's such an ambitious, cerebral coach. He moved from Stirling to Heriots to take up this opportunity. And it's not just players showcasing themselves in this competition, it's coaches who are aspirational too.
Very much so, and there certainly seems to be a cohesiveness and an understanding in the way they're playing tonight.
Ian McCarra's on at scrum half for Heriots. You can see him prowling that tunnel area alongside Murray Scott, chasing down his rival. Baggett tees up Pringle. And now perhaps an opportunity for Lowman McPherson just off the bench, former Dumbarton youth footballer, long-limbed, rangy winger. Baggett, better handling from Watsonians that time. It was Scopes feeding it on. And as I say that, the curse of the commentator strikes, but Ewan McLaren was offside. And Baggett with the tap and go, trying to keep the pressure on the Heriots defence. Pressure in a way it's seldom been pressured thus far. George Pringle's down and hurt, so Watsonians attacking with 14 for the time being. Van Niekerk almost clattering into his injured teammate. Baggett, inside ball. Quitzer was lurking. Here's Beresford. Davison riding side saddle. It's Sam Wallace, the hat-trick hero, with the hit. Baggett again. Berg. It's another interception. Would you believe it? Matt Davidson's done it again. He's under the sticks again. He too has a treble. And it's a carbon copy of his last score.
Yeah, the defensive shift, we've talked about it all night. Heriot's just coming up, closing the gate right on the outside, really pressurising and just reading the pass.
Served up on a silver Edinburgh platter for Matt Davidson.
Stronger, maybe.
And he has his hat-trick, just as Sam Wallace claimed one earlier. And it gets worse and worse and worse for Watsonians. It only gets sweeter for Heriots. That is try number 8. And that is 59 points to nil. They're outpacing the clock at this rate.
Yeah, it's really, the defence is just because Watsonians are coming, they're not giving up, they're trying to find ways, trying to be creative, but it's that defensive pressure is just producing these turnover tries.
Watsonians trying manfully to restore a bit of pride. It's just not coming together for them. And Heriots are reading them like the proverbial book at the moment. Picking off every opportunity they can. Baggett again. It must be hard to try and spark things now if you're a Watsonians player. Still 22 minutes of this game left. And I'm sure they'll feel like long, long minutes to those in scarlet today. Beresford has a shot. Sam Picure, another Sevens international, is on for Heriots. See him over on that far touchline with the shaved head. Here's Baggett looking for runners. Alfred Scopes is one of them, but again, Cammy Fenton there with the shot. Another McAndrew on at scrum half as well for Watsonians. He's on for Murray Scott. There he is wearing 21. Slower ball for McAndrew. Baggett, not again, surely not.
Number, what was the number?
Oh, George Barber was on the prowl.
Number 1.
In
Number
fact, it
1.
was Dan King, the replacement.
One's on the pitch, guys. 17, sorry. Offside. Too many penalties, Cammy. I've warned you, right? Offside. Too many
He's a
penalties.
talented young man, as Dan King. And Ian Kenny has sent Josh Scott to the sin bin. He's only just on the pitch, replacing Chris Keane, but you could hear him saying too many penalties, too many penalties. The team was on a warning, and the man who's been on about 2 minutes, regardless, will carry the can for that.
That's
Number
tough.
8 blue. 8 blue. Guys, 8 blue.
Certainly Chris King can be super proud of his performance tonight at Lyall.
Oh, it's over the top from Watsonians. Even the line out, even against the 7-man pack, isn't working, and that is a mesmeric steal from Wallace Nelson. And now Procure is caught high, and that might be penalty advantage Heriot's too. This has been a catastrophic evening for Watsonians.
Penalty over here, high tackle.
And Ian Kenny is going to bring Heriot's back for the high tackle on Procure.
Guys,
It's an easy life for Josh Scott. Come on, couple of minutes. Take a breather for 10. Feet up on the plastic chair. Ben Smith races run as well. He's had another
keep coming, keep coming.
explosive outing at number 8 for Heriots.
Again, there just Wallace Nelson displaying the absolute accuracy and dynamism at the breakdown by Heriots tonight.
What, if anything, will Watsonians take from this header? Do you try and use a defeat like this as fuel? I mean, the analysis on Monday is going to be brutal.
Yeah, I think it's looking after the ball, and I think they've just been so ferocious, Heriots. I think that's the word I would use: ferocious in defence and clinical in attack.
And that pretty much sums things up. Here's Fenton,
Back foot, lads.
who's brought plenty of that ferocity. Houston misses Sadak. And then it goes from Hughes to Duncan Hood, the hooker / back row. He has joined us from the bench. Lovely hands from Jamie Campbell to Ronan Sadak. The lock forwards are in on the act as well. And this is Cessford marauding forwards. The flower merchant, the Heriot stalwart, deep into Watsonians territory. Houston's grubber, Dan King tearing after it, but well covered by Murdo McAndrew. Lewis Wells puts him down 10 metres out. And Watsonians again must rouse themselves and go from deep. McAndrew to bag it in the pocket. And he can't make a huge amount of yardage with that sort of angle under that sort of pressure.
We talked about that ferocity, and they're 59-0 up and they're still wanting more. They're talking, they're absolutely next job, they want more.
Come on, guys. Step in, come on, Heriot.
Just checking that the members of the pack can count to 4. That's the number that Heriots have gone for on this line, at the giant figure of Struan Cessford wearing number 18, the lift on Sadak. And Makara moves it out to Hughes.
He was falling, he was falling. He was
Heriots
falling.
trying for a high shot. Ian Kenny explaining the player was falling into contact as Lewis Wells is tapped by Kieran Watt. And Makara, Ronan Sadak, Polish international lock forward. Good pick up from Houston. That was an awkward pass and did well to feed on to Hughes, who has made a trademark trundling run. Here he goes. Makara. Here's Houston. Cessford again. The dummy from the big fella. All the skills on show from the nails. Makara into Hood. He's a very fleet-footed young forward. Makara once more. Remember, Heriot's attacking with 14 against a full complement of Watsonians defenders. Sam Procure hasn't had much of an opportunity to run yet, but he can certainly shift. All those years on the Sevens World Series. Heriot's crying for offside. It's not given, but Sadak makes good yardage. That's a perfect pass from Houston, who is cleaved in too late. Louis Ball with a torpedo-like shot, and that was just a little bit too late.
6, be very careful. Grant.
Understandably, a few of the Heriots boys taking umbrage at that shot. That looked like a hit born of frustration.
Yep, just that last passage of play there. You had Sadek, number 4, doing lovely out the back passes, and you had Cessford, 2 breaks. I mean, yeah, fantastic skills right across the forwards and back line.
It's been all court fair from Heriots, and it could get better still. Just under 15 minutes left, plenty time, and you fancy plenty scores still out there for the visitors, who have made a mockery of any pre-match predictions that this would be a hard-fought, close encounter. It's not proved that way at all, not one iota. And Heriot's inflicting more pain up front. Fenton in command, hands it back to Nelson, who bursts away on his own. Makara, Grant Hughes, Houston, the crossfielder. Lewis Wells is underneath this, but just a little too much on it from Houston. And Wells couldn't commit to the catch without leaping over the touchline too.
Now, Banks.
Hughes is really working well with Houston. The 10 and 12 there, they just sort of complement each other so well. Houston seems to have all the time in the world.
Watsonians with young Finn Durai must throw in 5 metres out. Does function well this time through scopes. And Watsonians try and rumble themselves a couple of metres clear. They've milked the penalty. So free play for the hosts deep inside their own half. Baggett puts some air on it. Kutzer, he's got pace. So does Loman McPherson. Procure gets across. So does Matt Davidson. Procure straight to his feet. Trademark sevens, all exposed. And it was Finn Thompson who took it forward. This is Beresford now. Advantage is over, so Heriot's defending with 14. Watsonians trying to make the extra man count, trying to end a 68-minute scoreless spell. Thompson again, the teenage Scotland under-20 international, part of the team that competed out in Kenya on the World Rugby Under-20 trophy. And guess what? Watsonians have knocked the ball on.
That was a much better set from Watsonians there, deep inside their 22, executed the line out well. Baggett choosing to play right to left and made those yardage. Just unfortunate there, just losing possession.
Yeah, Gregor Skugel, enormous loose head prop.
Confirmed to be 1.
Spilling the ball in contact.
Digby, just tell me how much on the card, please.
Yeah, Watsonians much prefer to be on the halfway line than camped on their own line.
Blue 7, guys. Blue 7, sir.
So with a prop kicking his heels on the sin bin, Heriots have got to make a change to fulfill this scrum, and it is Sam Wallace. What a game he's had. 3 tries, he might fancy more. And he's been brought off for the moment. Chris Keane reintroduced from the bench. That might be the last we see of Sam Wallace, looking at the way he's gingerly skipping off to the touchline. With Chris Keane, the replacement, loose head in the bin. Still a minute left on that sin binning period. You can see there on the right hand side of your picture, Josh Scott and Keane reintroduced to make up the full allotment of front row players.
Let's go, Six. Come on, lads. Let's go, Keane. Come on.
They're going to scrum with 7 here, Heriot, by the looks of things. I'm not going to bring her back in, which I suppose makes sense when it's you put in. And once more we apologise if any of the slightly industrial language from those big front rows is being picked up by the referee's mic.
Bind!
It's always feisty in there.
Set! Guys, he's just slipped. So reset. Hold the weight, please. Hold the weight. Hold the weight. Then hold the weight, you just keep it. Keep it slip. Just a slip, just a reset.
Second. Second. Here we are. Let's go.
Crouch!
You're called in.
Bind! Set! Okay. Hold on. Okay. Stay out. Okay. I know you're getting tired, but just try and hold the weight, guys. Okay. You need to hold your weight, okay? Hey, that's the message I'm delivering.
Let's go, Six. Come on.
Can you shed some light on what's going on there, Heather?
Simple.
Struan says for not holding his weight. It is a big old frame to try and hold when you've got nothing to push against.
Yeah, you've got 3, crouch, and on the bind you're meant to wait and then go on the set. So the referees on the bind want you to see you holding your own body weight. I felt Heriot's went a wee bit early there, but let's see what happens here.
Bind! Set!
Here we go, third time lucky at scrum time. And the 7 forwards of Heriot's. A lovely stable platform for Makara. Nelson passes it behind his scrum half, but Grant Hughes unsurprisingly gets Heriot's on the front foot again. They tried to hold a little centre up for him all, they couldn't do so, he's too strong. Here's Keane doing some unanticipated overtime in the front row. Houston can kick off either foot. And lands it on Scott King, who is lassoed by Lewis Wells. McAndrew, Craig Davison, Kieran Watt, better from Watsonians. Kieran Watt can open his big meaty legs and find Louis. Ball backwards through the hands. It's all legal, it's all play on as Watsonians are held up.
Tackle!
It's not a maul, just a tackle, so all the players have to roll out of there. And McAndrew rescues the ball neatly. Kieran Watt again, he's made a good impact off the bench. Baggett to Finn Thompson. Sadak wraps him up along with Duncan Hood. Baggett again, that inside ball hung up for Alfie Scopes. Heriot's competing so ferociously on them. But Van Niekerk feeds it out nicely. Scott King one-on-one with Wells. Wells slides down his legs and brings him to the ground. McAndrew spaces around those fringes. Duncan Hood gets there in the nick of time. Can Watsonians at long last, find a route to the try line, avoid being nilled by their Edinburgh rivals. Here's Van Niekerk. McAndrew, Baggett. They move it wide to Berg, who steps back inside, can't get beyond Houston. Still they load this left-hand side. Baggett for Thompson, dummying.
No, 23.
Won't get through Sam Pecure. Bashing away furiously at the Heriot's threshold. McAndrew for Baggett. Kieran Watt, but he's hit hard by Duncan Hood, who lined up the big second row. McAndrew switching to the left. The ball is loose. The ball is knocked on. The try will not be scored, and the cheers are Heriot's.
just like we're talking about that ferocity in defence, and that man Cammy Fenton right in the thick of it. But much better Watsonians attack there, going through the phase play, keeping possession, but the ferocity, they still want it. 72-minute mark and they still want it.
What does it say about Heriot's team spirit that even with the game long since won, with 59 unanswered points on the scoreboard and with 7 minutes left, that they still have that ravenous desire to defend and to hit and to organise themselves?
If you look at their squad right through it, there's those with experience at all sorts of levels, and I think they've come together. It's like a melting pot, and they've come together, and there's that cohesiveness. And I think Bruce Houston's at the very part of it. But we've talked about Grant Hughes at 12, and I think the pack, Cammy Fenton at captain, great to see him leading the squad, and he wants more, and he's still on the pitch. I think the outside defence for Heriot's has been outstanding. We've talked about Matt Davidson, two breakaway tries, got his hat-trick, 2 of them interceptions, but I think it's defensive work. He's closing the door, and the Watsonians are running out of options in that wider channel. Having to go more a direct route. Inside passes, Baggett's giving the inside pass, that's working now, but the support's got to be there.
Too much weight is the message, okay? Ready, guys? Turn back on.
So everybody patched up. Running repairs administered to Alfie Scopes. And we can play out the final 7 minutes of this match. And Heriot's again showing their defensive snarl, the willingness to fight and work and scrap and hit. And now they are back to 15 men because Josh Scott has been emptied from his plastic chair and into the heart of this front row shunt. They have dominated every aspect of play. The scrum in particular has been very potent. And Dan King, Scotland under-20s first choice fullback at the moment, clears Heriot's lines. Here come Watsonians. Have they got anything left? Can they find the clinical touch that has eluded them for the better part of an entire match in FOSROC Super Series action? McAndrew, and that's more like it from Finn Durai, who came halfway down the M8 to take that pass. But Heriots again have isolated the carrier, have pilfered the ball on the deck. Another breakdown steal, and Grant Hughes almost links up with Pecure. It was an early tackle though, tackle without the ball. Pecure seized upon before he'd had a chance to grasp the ball, and as the officials do some sorting out. Heather, have you done your sorting out? Because it's time for you to name our FOSROC player of the match.
Well, there's been outstanding performances across the board. I think the key point for tonight is Heriots have played as a team, as a squad, and definitely there's 2 hat-trick scorers. I'd love to give it to both of them, Sam Wallace and Matt Davidson, but I think I'm going to give it to the captain's leadership role to Cammy Fenton for his work in the scrum and the breakdown. It's just been absolutely outstanding. He's been a thorn in Watsonian side. Player of the match, Cammy Fenton.
And he's still on the pitch, 75 minutes in. There he is, like any good captain. Never mind Alan Wynne-Jones cleaning up the rubbish at the Stade Mayol. This is proper captain's material, stretching out the hamstrings and the calves of a player much younger than you, by the way, Sam Nelson. No such frills required for Cammy Fenton. Just tousling of hair, stretching of muscles, and he still looks as eager as he did in the first minute.
I think they all do. That's the key. That's the absolute key.
It says a lot about Cammy Fenton as well, Heather, that we've had 2 hat-tricks scored, a host of fantastic individual performances in a monumental team effort. But rather than plump for the hat-trick scorers, Cammy Fenton's been that good, you've still picked him.
Absolutely. Like, I would always usually give it to the hat-trick scorer. There's 2. Sam Wallace, outstanding. He got player of the match last week as well, and that's just back-to-back matches. Outstanding. Congratulations to you. And Matt Davidson, your reading of the game and your defensive work, outstanding too. But you're still out there, Cammy. Well done. You're just leading that whole squad. Outstanding.
Houston then. Arrows one towards the corner flag. And they will throw in on the 22 here as we enter the final 5 minutes of the match.
And special mention also to Bruce Houston, who we talked about at the match-up at the beginning. His control of the game, his kicking off both feet, outstanding.
Fenton to Sadak. That has been a profitable line-out access for Heriots today. And they're just squeezing away and splintering the last remnants of Watsonians' defence and Watsonians' morale. Fenton shackled. Makara for Struan Sesford. Good double shot, but penalty advantage to Heriots. Makara goes blind. Houston grubbering through. Oh, it's Wallace again. He's got a 4th. An incredible quartet of tries for Sam Wallace. He's irrepressible. Heriots are unstoppable.
Absolutely fantastic to him. Bruce Houston, the forward work there, but the kick through from Bruce Houston, magical, and the finish, perfect.
It was a grubber kick that sparked anarchy, more anarchy in the Watsonians' defence. And once more, it's a Heriots player, fastest to react to the bobbling ball, and absolutely no surprise that it's young Sam Wallace on the spot once again.
You can take it over here, Bruce. On the floor.
Heriots has scored 151 points coming into this match. And that figure has been somewhat inflated. Watsonians, the best defence in the competition so far, 57 points conceded. They've more than doubled that tally in just their 6th game of the competition. Not this time from Houston, but it's not going to matter. 64-0, 2 minutes left. Wow. And here is the man of the moment, Sam Wallace. Player of the match against the future 15. Retained his berth in the lineup rather than being released back to the Heriots club team. And I think he could stake his claim for a regular Super Series berth on this showing. Can Watsonians avoid being nilled? They've got about 90 seconds to score a try. They've scarcely looked like managing one all evening.
Half 5, you're off feet.
Here's McAndrew. Baggett's, Thompson, Lewis Berg, still full of running, still asking questions, still making good headway too. Here's Baggett. And now perhaps the opportunity for Matt Reid. McAndrew's lost it, but it's gone backwards. Durai head in the tackle, was forwards off a Heriot's hand. Baggett caught on the 22, and we will go back for the scrum. And by the time the ball comes out of the scrum, the clock may well be red.
Watsonians have been fighting and fighting this second half, really trying to get that try, but coming up against the brick wall that is Heriot's defence.
Getting from on, what's the side? No sub. Okay, no sub. Let's go, guys.
Hey, strong fucking strong
JB,
now.
come on, what are we
No
saying?
one's fucking lost. Set the fucking dreadful.
Okay.
Well, if you didn't hear the earlier foul outbursts from the front rows, I'm positive you'll have heard that one. So apologies once more for some of the word choice from the players down there. For various reasons, they've got a lot to shout about.
Come on, let's go, Luca. Hey, fucking strong position, fucking stay there.
Apologies again for the language.
Seconds. Seconds.
Come on, Cammy, sort them out,
Give me
please.
that one. Let's go. Come on, Seth. Nice and low.
Crouch.
Yeah, look at Alessandri on for the last couple of minutes for
Bind.
Watsonians at tight head prop. Bit of a thankless task.
Set.
Trying to make a mark at this scrimmage. The last opportunity for Watsonians to avoid the humiliation, the ignominy of failing to score a single point against a team they habitually defeat 3 in a row over Heriots. And yet another breakdown steal. It's been lost forwards, and that's full time. Listen to the roar. Just soak in these celebrations for a moment, because this has been the mother of all demolition derbies. Look what it means to Cammy Fenton and to Heriots. 64 unanswered points, rattled past the best defence in the competition and one of their fiercest capital city rivals. Watsonians have been mortified, marmalised, monstered. In a word, they've been nailed. Full time at Myreside, Watsonians Rugby 0, Heriots Rugby 64. Yes, you heard that right. Now let's take a look at the best of the second half action. It started as Heriots left off 3 minutes into the new half. Try number 5, Liam Richmond in at the corner, Heather.
Yeah, we said so often that Richmond was the decoy, the assist, and they're on hand to get a lovely pass there from Wells. Great work down that left channel.
Yeah, it's a clever running line from Liam Richmond, looping round the outside, and the momentum carrying him through George Pringle's tackle. And one of the young men who certainly did his cause for more semi-pro action, no harm, Sam Wallace. He already scored twice in the second half, is the first half. He scored 2 more in the second, and this was so well read.
Yeah, I just like this. He knew what was coming. He was alert, and it wasn't an easy catch. Picked it up, twirled, and ran on the diagonal just to make it harder for the covering defender.
Yeah, it's great vision. Gets a kind bounce, but he deserves that for the charge down. Coetzer can't catch him, and that was Wallace's hat-trick try. And there was more to come for Heriot's, more pain for Watsonians, a more great reading of the play defensively. Matt Davidson, his first try was well taken. His second and third, carbon copies of each other, both long-range interceptions.
Yeah, and we were talking about it's just coming from that defence. They're really closing the door. The outside of the defence is coming ahead of the inside defence, really putting pressure on. They're up sharp, look, straight through. And we were talking about his sevens background. He's got the pace. Great skill.
And that's how Matt Davidson dove for delight in the Watsonians in goal area. It passed, perhaps telegraphed a little by Baggett, but Davidson, so intelligent, so alert. And over again. Now, 4 minutes later, he repeated the feat. We're not showing you the same try twice, by the way. It might look that way when you see this replay. Here we go. It's Berg this time trying to frantically shovel it on to Coetzer, and Davidson in that outside centre channel from the same distance, the same kind of play, and almost an identical try.
It's the close defence as well. We talked about the outside defence, but the pressure is coming from the inside, really coming up, forcing. Great defence.
And at that stage, Watsonians were understandably forcing things, but when they chanced their arm, Davidson was alert, swooping on any sort of opportunity, and that was his hat-trick try. As Bear, you could see, just desperately trying to get Coetzer away on the outside. And Davidson, if he hadn't made that, perhaps Coetzer 2-on-1, it could have been a try the other way, but he's so fast, he's so sharp, and he's now up to 6 tries for the season. And in this form, Heriot will take some stopping. And of course, Sam Wallace, not to be outdone, had to go one better than his backline buddy, pouncing on another clever Bruce Houston kick that created such disorganisation in the Watsonians defence. It trickled inside a couple of players, and Wallace scoring his 4th, yes, 4th try.
Again, we're just saying Houston there had so much time, just the variety in his game, really good.
So a statement made emphatically by Heriot's Rugby at Myreside. 64 points to 0 they win. And round 6 completed tomorrow, 3 p.m. and 5 p.m. those two fixtures. First at the Green Yards, the Knights against the Wolves, who'll be keen to try and keep pace with Heriot's. And Ayrshire Bulls, the table-topping Ayrshire Bulls, pegged back now, 20 points apiece with Heriot's, at home at 5 p.m. in the final fixture of round 6. So this is how the table looks. And with that marvellous victory, Heriot's Rugby do leapfrog the Ayrshire Bulls on points difference and points scored. Both of them locked together on 20 points, but of course the Bulls in action tomorrow with the chance to reclaim top spot outright. For Watsonians, well, that could be a seriously wounding defeat. 7 rounds still to play. Stirling Wolves and the Boroughmuir Bears hot on their heels. The Bears not in action until the next round of fixtures, but the Wolves playing tomorrow have the chance to overtake them. Well, what a night it has been here at Myreside. All the pre-match predictions, from myself included I must admit, were for a close encounter, decided perhaps by a score either way. Heriots though have made a mockery of any such notion. They have demolished their city rivals. It has been as one-sided a fixture as you will see in any competition in any country this year, and perhaps as complete a performance as any team will put in throughout the FOSROC Super Series Championship. Might well the Nails celebrate, and dare I say, might well they enjoy a few libations in Edinburgh's establishments tonight. They've certainly earned it. Victory for Heriots by 64 points to 0, and we hope you've enjoyed our coverage tonight every bit as much as those players have involved playing a part in it. We'll see you again next week for more FOSROC Super Series Championship action. Bye for now.